the stupidest or most ridiculous reasons for a breakup you've ever encountered? Story 1. I once had a friend break up with their partner because the other person's favorite color was too close to their ex's. They didn't even care that they had been dating for nearly 2 years, had similar hobbies, and got along wonderfully. It was all about the color. I still remember my friend standing there, explaining how they couldn't get past it because every time they saw that color, it reminded them of their ex. What made it even crazier was that their ex's favorite color was exactly the same. After everything, they just couldn't shake the association, so they ended the relationship. I couldn't believe it. That was the dumbest breakup reason I'd ever heard, and yet, somehow, it was totally serious to them. It still blows my mind. Story 2. I heard of a breakup happening because one person found out that their partner liked pineapple on pizza. I'm not kidding, that was it. They said they couldn't be with someone who had such questionable taste in food. I think the part that stunned me the most was how passionate they were about it. The argument wasn't just about the pineapple either. It was about their entire personality being so wrong because of a pizza topping. Imagine dating someone for months and realizing that everything you thought was perfect was thrown away because of food preferences. It wasn't even about food anymore. It was about their entire view on life, and suddenly, that small disagreement seemed insurmountable. They broke up over pizza. I never let them live it down. Story 3. I once knew a couple who broke up because one person didn't like how the other put ketchup on everything. Like literally everything. Hot dogs, burgers, fries, even scrambled eggs. The other person claimed it was a sign of bad taste, and that they couldn't be with someone who had such a lack of sophistication. They sat there, serious as can be, discussing how ketchup was lowbrow and undignified, and it made the other person feel like they weren't up to standard. As someone who loves ketchup, I was stunned. A whole relationship came to an end because of ketchup. The rest of us were just left trying to figure out if it was the ketchup or something deeper that led to this dramatic breakup. But nope, it was ketchup. Story 4. A friend of mine once broke up with her boyfriend because he didn't like dogs. He didn't dislike them. He just wasn't as enthusiastic as she was about them. Apparently, she could never date someone who didn't want to go on dog hikes or let her bring her dog everywhere. She even gave him an ultimatum: either you love my dog or we can't be together. He told her that while he respected her love for dogs, he didn't have that same level of enthusiasm. That was all it took. She told him that she couldn't see a future with someone who wasn't dog-obsessed, and ended things. I thought it was a little extreme, especially considering he didn't hate dogs. The whole thing was so bizarre, but she was insistent that it was a deal-breaker. She never spoke to him again. Story 5. One of my exes broke up with me because they found out I didn't like the same movie franchise that they did. We'd been dating for months, and it never came up. One evening, they brought up a particular movie franchise, one they absolutely loved, and I casually mentioned I wasn't a fan. I thought nothing of it, but they absolutely flipped out. Apparently, it was the final straw in a long list of things that were clearly incompatible. To them, not liking that particular franchise meant I had no appreciation for good storytelling, and we had totally different values. I didn't even argue because I couldn't believe they were serious, but they broke up with me over a movie. The strangest thing was that we'd had so many things in common, and just one tiny difference became the reason they decided to end things. Story 6. One of the most bizarre breakups I ever witnessed was between a friend and their partner, who broke up over their obsession with personal space. It started off seemingly innocuous, but eventually it turned into a mountain out of a molehill. The partner was someone who cherished their space, always wanted to sleep alone, never really enjoyed sitting too close to others for long periods, and loved doing solitary activities like reading or hiking. My friend, on the other hand, was all about closeness and affection. They wanted to cuddle on the couch, hold hands while walking, and would text or call constantly throughout the day. At first, it was manageable and the relationship seemed fine. But one day, my friend made a casual comment about how they wish they could spend more time physically close to each other. The partner immediately took offense, stating that they didn't need to be clung to all the time, and it was a sign of dependency. The next day, the issue resurfaced. My friend texted them, "I miss you," and the partner said that was too much. The tension started building, with my friend feeling rejected and the other person getting overwhelmed by the constant proximity. After an uncomfortable conversation, the partner ended things, citing that they just couldn't be in a relationship where personal space wasn't respected. It was shocking because the breakup wasn't because of a major argument or betrayal. It was simply a fundamental difference in how they viewed space and affection. The whole thing left everyone scratching their heads because they had such great chemistry and otherwise enjoyed each other's company, but this one thing completely tore them apart. Story 7. I once had a friend who broke up with someone because they didn't like the way they danced. They were both at a wedding, having a good time when the topic of dancing came up. My friend was a pretty good dancer, nothing fancy, but they had rhythm and liked to have fun on the dance. The partner, on the other hand, was a bit self-conscious and had never really learned to dance confidently. At first, the partner was content to just sit back and watch, but my friend started encouraging them to get on the dance floor. After a few drinks, they finally gave it a try, but they were incredibly stiff, awkward, and clearly uncomfortable. My friend, trying to be supportive, made a joking comment about how they looked like a robot, thinking it would lighten the mood. Instead, the partner took it to heart, feeling humiliated. They stormed off the dance floor and insisted they were never going to try dancing again because of how embarrassed they felt. The next day, my friend tried to apologize, but it was too late. The partner said they couldn't be with someone who couldn't appreciate them for who they were, and the dancing incident had ruined the relationship. It was such an odd reason to end things, considering they had been dating for over a year, but it was apparently a deal breaker. My friend was left totally confused, especially since the whole evening had been lighthearted, but dancing turned out to be the final straw. Story 8. A couple I knew broke up over the most ridiculous thing: their shared dislike of a certain type of fruit, bananas. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal. They had been together for over a year, and everything seemed fine. Both of them were on the healthier side of things and loved eating fruit, but it just so happened that neither of them could stand bananas. It was a funny little quirk they both had, and they would joke about it every time they saw bananas in a store or on a menu. However, one day, one of them decided to try and fix it. They bought a banana and insisted that the other try it, saying, "It's not that bad. Maybe your taste buds have changed." The other partner, already feeling grossed out by the idea, reluctantly took a bite. That was when the argument started. The first partner mocked them for making such a big deal out of one fruit, while the other got defensive, saying, "If we can't even agree on bananas, how are we supposed to agree on anything else?" The fight escalated over the next few days, and eventually they broke up. They sat down and calmly explained that they couldn't be together anymore because, apparently, how can we build a future when we can't even agree on something as basic as a banana? It was absurd. The whole thing was centered around bananas, and neither of them could see past it. Everyone around them tried to intervene, but it was no use. They were done. Story 9. I was once in a group where one person broke up with their partner because they hated their bedtime routine. The partner was very much a night owl, staying up late watching shows, reading, or working. The other person, who was more of an early bird, loved going to bed early to get a full night's sleep. The relationship had been working fine until they moved in together, and the different routines started to clash. The night owl would stay up late watching TV, while the early bird would try to fall asleep with the lights off, which irritated the other person. It escalated to the point where it was like an unspoken war. The late-night person would turn on loud music to keep themselves entertained, and the early riser would get frustrated by the noise. They would argue about everything. "You never let me sleep. You're too boring. You're too loud." One night, they sat down and had a serious conversation, and it turned into the biggest deal-breaker either of them could imagine: bedtime habits. They ultimately broke up because they realized they could never get on the same schedule, and that seemed to ruin their connection. The idea of compromising on sleep was apparently impossible, and their differing bedtime preferences tore them apart. It felt so trivial, but to them, it was a fundamental incompatibility. It ended with one of them declaring that they would never again date someone with a crazy bedtime routine, and that sleep was too important to sacrifice for a relationship. Story 10. I have a friend who broke up with their significant other because of an argument over a single song, "Don't Stop Believin'" by Journey. They had been dating for a while, and things had been going well until they went to a karaoke bar with friends. It was a fun night, everyone singing their favorite tunes, and my friend's partner was up next. The partner decided to sing "Don't Stop Believin'," but when the song began, my friend immediately started to groan and rolled their eyes. They said, "Ugh, not that song again. It's so overrated." The partner took offense, and things escalated quickly. They argued about how that song is a classic and how it represented an important part of their childhood, while my friend insisted it was a cliché and overplayed. The tension built all night, and when they got home, the argument continued. It wasn't just about the song anymore. It was about respect for taste in music and valuing each other's preferences. My friend was firm in their position. They couldn't date someone with such poor taste in music, and who didn't understand how overdone that song was. The partner, upset by the critique, said they could never be with someone who didn't appreciate their favorite song. And that was the end of it. They broke up over a Journey song. It felt absurd, but to them, that song represented so much more than just a tune. It was a relationship deal breaker. Story 11. A friend of mine once ended a relationship over a disagreement about how often they should see each other. On paper, this didn't seem like an issue, but it quickly escalated into something that tore them apart. They had been dating for a few months and everything was going well, until they both started feeling a bit more pressured by the relationship. My friend was someone who valued personal space and alone time, preferring to see their partner a couple of times a week with room to breathe in between. Their partner, however, felt that the more they saw each other, the better, and they wanted to hang out every day. At first, my friend went along with it, thinking it would make their partner happy. But soon enough, it started to feel suffocating. They felt like they didn't have time for themselves, and every moment of downtime was interrupted by texts or plans. One evening, after a particularly long week, my friend tried to bring up their need for a little space. They suggested that maybe they could see each other 3 times a week instead of 5. But the partner didn't take it well. They said that if they weren't seeing each other every single day, it meant the relationship wasn't as important. This set off a chain reaction. My friend tried to explain that it wasn't about not caring, but about maintaining a sense of individuality and balance. Unfortunately, the partner didn't understand and accused them of not being fully committed. They argued for hours, and by the end of it, the partner declared that they couldn't continue dating someone who didn't want to build a life together by spending every day together. It felt so trivial, yet for them, it was a matter of emotional security. The breakup was sudden, and my friend was left reeling, feeling like something that should have been a small disagreement turned into the end of something meaningful. It was one of those moments where something as simple as time spent together could cause such a huge rift. Story 12. There was this one couple I knew who broke up because they couldn't agree on where to go on their vacation. It wasn't a huge deal at first. They both agreed that they wanted to get away for a week and do something fun. But then came the decision-making part. My friend wanted to go somewhere adventurous, hiking, exploring new cities, doing things that involved a lot of outdoor activity. Their partner, however, preferred more laid-back vacations with relaxation and beachside lounging. They debated over destinations for weeks, each trying to convince the other of why their idea was the best. As the time drew closer and the destination still hadn't been decided, the tension grew. The final straw came when they finally narrowed it down to 2 choices: a tropical resort or a hiking trip in the mountains. My friend was firm on wanting the hiking trip, while the other partner was adamant about the resort. They tried to compromise by suggesting a mix of both, but neither of them could agree. One night, after another round of heated arguments, the partner said, "If we can't even agree on something as simple as a vacation, how are we going to make decisions in the future?" And that was it. The relationship ended there. The vacation, a supposed opportunity for fun and relaxation, became the breaking point. Neither could understand how something so trivial could divide them so intensely. But at that moment, the vacation disagreement was just too much. It left my friend in a state of disbelief, wondering how something so simple could bring such an end to something that had been going so well. Story 13. A person I know broke up with their partner because of a complete misunderstanding over an emoji. It sounds insane, but it was the catalyst for a breakup. They had been dating for a while and had a relatively low-maintenance relationship. Things were good, they got along, but one night they had an exchange over text that spiraled out of control. The partner had sent a text, and my friend responded with a thumbs-up emoji. To them, it was just a simple way to acknowledge the message and keep the conversation light. However, the partner, for some unknown reason, interpreted the thumbs-up as passive-aggressive, as though my friend was brushing them off. They thought it was a sign that they were upset, but didn't want to admit it. The partner immediately responded with, "If you're mad, just say it. No need to give me a thumbs up to hide your true feelings." My friend was confused and asked what they meant, but the partner got more defensive, saying they could tell when something was off, and that the thumbs up was just a way to avoid confrontation. The conversation spiraled, with both parties accusing each other of being distant and emotionally unavailable. My friend tried to clarify that the emoji wasn't a sign of anything but a simple acknowledgement, but it didn't matter. The partner insisted that it was a symbol of something deeper, which my friend didn't understand. Ultimately, they broke up over a misunderstanding of an emoji, a tiny, meaningless gesture that somehow became this enormous thing. It was one of those situations where you sit back and wonder how something so small can trigger such a massive fallout. Story 14. I know of a couple who ended their relationship over the issue of how to eat cereal. Yes, cereal. They had been together for a few months, and everything was fine until they had breakfast together one morning. My friend poured themselves a bowl of cereal, and the partner looked at them like they had just done something criminal. My friend had poured the milk first, which was apparently a major deal breaker in the eyes of the partner. According to them, you had to pour the cereal first to ensure the milk didn't overflow, and to do it the other way around was somehow wrong and chaotic. They argued for a while, with the partner insisting that their way was the only proper way to prepare cereal. My friend, bewildered, tried to explain that it didn't matter to them how the cereal and milk went in the bowl. They were both eating the same thing, but the partner just couldn't let it go. Eventually, the situation took an even stranger turn when the partner asked if my friend was always this careless in life, accusing them of having no consideration for details. It got more intense when my friend countered that it was just cereal, and that people had more important things to worry about. The partner, not being able to accept it, finally said that the relationship couldn't work if they couldn't even agree on something as simple as breakfast. The next day, they broke up. It was an absurd breakup reason, but apparently the idea of how to prepare cereal was a sign of their different lifestyles and ultimately doomed the relationship. Story 15. I witnessed a breakup that happened because one person didn't like their partner's choice in bathroom decor. It sounds bizarre, but it happened. My friend and their partner had been living together for a year, and everything was generally going smooth. But one day, my friend redecorated the bathroom without consulting their partner. They put up a few new towels, changed the shower curtain, and added some decorative items to make the space feel fresher. It was a minor change, one that they thought would improve their home. However, when the partner saw it, they flipped out. They didn't like the colors, they didn't like the style, and they felt the bathroom had been ruined by the new additions. At first, my friend thought they were just joking, but their partner wasn't laughing. They said it was a sign of poor taste, and that if they couldn't even respect each other's home decor choices, then they didn't respect each other's opinions. The argument grew, with one side trying to defend their choices and the other declaring that the bathroom had no character anymore. It was the weirdest thing, and for a while, no one could understand how this became such a big deal. Eventually, they ended up breaking up over bathroom decor. My friend was devastated, but the partner said that it wasn't about the bathroom itself. It was about a deeper issue of respect and consideration for each other's preferences. It was definitely one of the strangest breakups I've seen. Story 16. I have a friend who broke up with their partner because they couldn't agree on how to divide the household chores. Sounds pretty common, right? But this was next level. They had been dating for a few years and had recently moved in together. Things started off well, but when the reality of living together settled in, they began having frequent arguments about who was responsible for what around the house. It all began when my friend, being a bit more organized, started creating a list of chores to keep track of. They thought it would make things easier, but their partner was extremely offended by the idea of a list, feeling like it was too structured and impersonal. They insisted that a relationship should be built on mutual respect and that their partner shouldn't have to tell them what to do. The tension escalated when the chores list kept growing. My friend would try to remind them about washing the dishes or vacuuming, and the partner would either forget or purposefully ignore it. My friend got frustrated, feeling like they were doing everything themselves. After a few weeks of constant frustration and passive-aggressive comments, my friend sat down for a serious talk. They wanted to create a fair division of labor, but the partner responded with, "If you need a chore list to feel respected, then maybe we're just not meant to live together." It was as if the mere idea of structure had broken their relationship. My friend, deeply hurt, didn't understand how something as simple as dividing household tasks could tear them apart. In the end, the partner decided that they couldn't handle being micromanaged and that they needed more freedom in the relationship. They broke up that evening, and it left my friend confused and upset. They didn't think something as mundane as chores would be the tipping point, but to them, it was a matter of balance and teamwork. Story 17. One of the strangest breakups I've witnessed happened between a couple who split up over an argument about the weather. Sounds unbelievable, right? But here's how it went down. The couple had been dating for several months, and everything was going fine. One weekend, they decided to go on a spontaneous trip to the beach. It was a perfect idea, except for one small thing. The forecast predicted rain in the afternoon. My friend, who had a love for the outdoors and didn't mind a little rain, insisted they go anyway and just deal with the weather. The other person, however, was a stickler for weather predictions and decided that the trip was doomed. They argued back and forth about whether the rain would ruin their day or not, with one being optimistic and the other determined to stay indoors. Eventually, the debate turned into a full-blown argument. The rain turned into a metaphor for how they viewed life. My friend's partner said they couldn't be with someone who was so careless about planning or who would risk ruining a perfectly good day just because they weren't thinking ahead. They argued about how one person's need to go with the flow didn't mesh with the other's desire for certainty and predictability. The breakup came shortly after the trip was canceled. The partner insisted that they couldn't date someone who didn't share their careful, practical approach to life. It wasn't about the trip itself. It was about a fundamental difference in how they approached life's unpredictability. My friend was heartbroken but realized that, in their partner's mind, the rain wasn't just a little inconvenience. It was a sign of incompatibility. The weather, in this case, became a metaphor for something much deeper, and it tore them apart. Story 18. I have another friend who broke up with their partner because they refused to share their snacks. The story sounds ridiculous, but it escalated in the most bizarre way. They had been living together for a while and were generally pretty comfortable with each other. One day, they were watching a movie and munching on their favorite snacks: chips, candy, and some soda. My friend offered to share, but their partner, who was very protective of their snacks, politely declined. Over time, this developed into a recurring issue. Every time they had snacks together, my friend would try to offer or share, but the partner was always very possessive of their food. It started as a small annoyance, but it quickly grew into a tension that neither of them could avoid. One night, they were at the grocery store together, picking up a few items for their evening movie marathon. My friend grabbed a bag of chips that they knew the partner loved, and without asking, they put it in the cart. The partner immediately got upset, saying, "Why can't you just respect that these are my chips?" This turned into a full argument about the ownership of food and the right to eat certain snacks without sharing. The conversation shifted to food boundaries, and suddenly, it wasn't about chips anymore, it was about recipe CT. Eventually, the argument ended with the partner declaring that they didn't feel respected because their personal snack space was being invaded. My friend, bewildered, couldn't understand how something so trivial could be such a major issue. The argument spiraled, and before they knew it, the partner broke up with them, saying they couldn't be with someone who didn't understand the importance of personal snack boundaries. It was a mind-boggling reason for a breakup, but for them, food ownership was somehow the final straw. Story 19. There's a couple I know who broke up because one person couldn't handle the other's obsession with the perfect morning routine. This was a story that spiraled quickly into something that felt completely unreasonable. The partner, let's call them Alex, was incredibly particular about how their mornings went. They had a strict regimen: wake up at 6 a.m., drink water, meditate for 15 minutes, followed by a workout, and then a perfect breakfast. They wouldn't even consider starting the day without completing every part of this routine, and they expected their partner, Sam, to follow along. Sam, on the other hand, was a night owl and not a fan of rigid schedules. Mornings for Sam were about getting up when they felt like it, having a leisurely coffee, and starting work when they were ready. At first, it was a minor disagreement, but it quickly escalated. Alex kept insisting that Sam follow the routine for health reasons and mental clarity. While Sam found the routine stressful and inflexible, Sam tried to compromise by joining in on some parts of the morning routine, like waking up early and doing stretches. But it just wasn't their style. The pressure mounted as Alex became increasingly frustrated when Sam didn't want to follow the full regimen. Arguments about the right way to start the day took over their conversations, and soon it became clear that the difference in their morning approaches wasn't just a small quirk, it was a major incompatibility. One morning, after a particularly heated discussion, Alex decided that they couldn't continue with someone who didn't have the same commitment to their personal routine. They claimed that a perfect morning routine was the foundation for success and happiness, and if Sam couldn't see that, the relationship was doomed. Sam, feeling suffocated by the constant push for routine, broke up with them. They both realized that while they could respect each other's choices, they just couldn't align on something as fundamental as how the day started. It seemed petty at first, but it was the difference between feeling in control and feeling like you were living in a rigid box. It ended the relationship, and they both moved on. But that perfect morning routine had a huge impact. Story 20. A friend of mine broke up with their partner because they couldn't agree on what counted as a real vacation. This might sound trivial, but it turned into a much bigger issue than either of them anticipated. They had been dating for almost a year and wanted to take a vacation together. My friend, an avid traveler, loved backpacking to new off-the-beaten-path destinations. Their partner, however, was all about luxury resorts and the idea of resting during a vacation. The first few conversations about the trip went smoothly until they started narrowing down options. My friend suggested a week-long trip through a national park, staying in hostels and camping. The partner was horrified and immediately vetoed it. "That's not a vacation, that's just work," they argued. They insisted on a resort stay instead, with room service and poolside relaxation. They tried to compromise by discussing other options, but the differences in their views became more evident. My friend couldn't understand why their partner would pay for a fancy resort when they could experience something far more enriching and adventurous for less money. The partner, on the other hand, couldn't understand why anyone would want to rough it when the whole point of vacation was to unwind in comfort. The conversation became more heated, with both sides becoming defensive about what counted as a real vacation. Eventually, the partner said, "If you don't understand the need for a relaxing, luxurious vacation, then maybe we just don't want the same things in life." It felt absurd at first, but it was a huge deal. After a series of failed compromises, the breakup occurred. My friend felt betrayed by the fact that their partner couldn't see the value in more meaningful, off-the-grid experiences, while the other person felt disrespected by the suggestion that their idea of relaxation wasn't good enough. It was a breakdown of perspective, and what seemed like an innocent vacation plan ended up dividing them. Story 21. I witnessed one of the most absurd breakups when a friend ended their relationship because of their partner's obsession with lucky numbers. Sounds harmless, right? But it was one of the most intense breakups I've ever seen. My friend's partner had this strange belief that certain numbers brought them luck, particularly the number 7. They wore lucky number 7 socks, only drove cars with license plates that contained the number 7, and had a ritual of lucky 7 steps whenever they entered a room. At first, my friend thought it was a quirky thing they did, but it became obsessive over time. The partner would check the time at exactly 7 o'clock every evening, only make major decisions on days that added up to the number 7, and refused to do anything significant if it wasn't in line with their lucky numbers. The issue came to a head when my friend started feeling like their whole life was being dictated by these numbers. They had plans for a weekend getaway, but the partner insisted on rescheduling because it was the 6th of the month, not the 7th. My friend felt like they were constantly walking on eggshells, avoiding any decisions that didn't line up with their partner's lucky rituals. The breaking point came when they wanted to go to a concert, but the partner refused to go because the tickets were in row 6, not row 7. My friend tried to talk to them about how irrational this was becoming. They didn't mind quirky habits, but it had gone beyond that. Everything in their relationship was being overshadowed by luck. The partner, however, was adamant that they couldn't be with someone who didn't respect their good luck beliefs. After a long discussion, my friend finally called it quits, saying they couldn't be in a relationship where numbers determined everything. It left everyone around them completely stunned because who would have thought something as abstract as numbers could destroy a relationship? Story 22. A friend of mine went through a breakup over the most strange and petty thing. They couldn't agree on how to use the toaster. It started innocently enough when they moved in together. My friend would toast their bread on a lower setting, preferring it lightly browned. Their partner, however, was obsessed with crispy toast, always cranking the toaster to its highest setting. The small issue slowly grew. Every time they would have breakfast together, my friend would make a toast, only to have their partner turn it up to the highest setting, burning it beyond recognition. It became a daily routine of minor frustrations, with my friend trying to quietly fix the toast every time, while their partner acted as though it was perfectly normal to burn it. The situation escalated when one morning, my friend finally snapped. After a particularly charred piece of toast, they said, "I can't believe you do this every time." Their partner, defensive, replied, "It's just toast. Why are you making a big deal out of it?" And that's when the argument exploded into something much larger. The conversation shifted from toast to respecting the little things in life and not being able to compromise on even the smallest details. They realized that if they couldn't agree on something as simple as toast, how could they possibly agree on more important things? After a few days of tension and a lot of back and forth, my friend decided they couldn't live with someone who had such a rigid approach to something so trivial. The partner, feeling insulted, decided that they couldn't be with someone who couldn't accept their toast preferences. They broke up over the toaster. It seemed ridiculous to everyone around them, but to them, it was a sign of incompatibility that couldn't be overlooked. Story 23. A couple I knew broke up because one person was obsessed with feng shui and refused to live anywhere that didn't strictly adhere to the principle. The partner, on the other hand, couldn't care less about feng shui and thought it was all nonsense. At first, it was a small issue. Things like ensuring the furniture was arranged in a way that promoted positive energy, or making sure that mirrors weren't reflecting beds. But soon, the partner became completely fixated on it. They couldn't be in a room where the energy wasn't flowing properly, and they would rearrange things constantly, sometimes up to 3 or 4 times a week. The turning point came when they decided to redecorate their apartment. My friend was initially excited about the idea, but the partner took complete control, insisting that the entire space be redesigned to align with feng shui. They started obsessing over the color of the walls, the arrangement of furniture, and even the positioning of plants. My friend wanted a more relaxed approach, but it was impossible to even discuss it. The partner would accuse them of cluttering the space with bad energy if they didn't follow the rules. The breaking point came when they bought a new couch. My friend wanted a specific style, but the feng shui lover insisted that it would block the flow of energy in the living room. They went back and forth for hours, each person getting more frustrated. Eventually, the partner declared that they couldn't live with someone who didn't care about the vibes of the house and how everything needed to flow for true harmony. They broke up over a couch. It was one of the most bizarre reasons for a breakup I've seen, but to them, it was a matter of spiritual compatibility. Story 24. I remember a friend breaking up with their partner over a ridiculous disagreement about how they dressed. The whole thing started innocent. The couple had been dating for a while and were in the middle of a conversation about fashion when my friend's partner made an offhand comment about how plain my friend's wardrobe was. They said they didn't like how my friend always wore neutral colors, claiming it made them look boring and unfashionable. My friend, initially taken aback, laughed it off, but the partner kept going. They suggested that if my friend really wanted to look good in public, they should adopt a more bold and colorful style. It went from playful teasing to a full-blown argument. My friend couldn't understand why their wardrobe choices were such an issue, and they felt that their partner's criticism was unwarranted. They tried to explain that they were comfortable with how they dressed and didn't need to change for anyone. The partner, on the other hand, argued that they couldn't be with someone who didn't put any effort into their appearance and didn't care about making an impression. The argument continued for days, with one person trying to convince the other to spice up their wardrobe and the other refusing to conform to what they felt was an unnecessary expectation. The breaking point came when the partner bought my friend an entire new wardrobe, full of bright colors and patterns, expecting them to wear it. When my friend refused, they broke up. It wasn't just about clothes. It became a symbol of how they didn't align on personal expression. My friend was left shocked, wondering how a simple disagreement about style could end a relationship. But for their partner, it was apparently a major deal breaker. Story 25. One of the most bizarre breakups I've seen involved a couple who split up over a single board game. They were both huge fans of tabletop games, so when they were planning a weekend together, they decided to have a game night. They picked out a new game to try, but things quickly turned sour when one person didn't agree with the rules. The game was a strategy-based one, and my friend was the kind of person who liked following rules exactly as they were written. Their partner, however, was the type who preferred to tweak the rules and make their own modifications in order to improve the game. It started with minor rule disagreements, like how to score points or which piece to move next. But over time, the tension increased. My friend got frustrated when the partner kept changing the rules, arguing that it ruined the integrity of the game. The partner, in turn, said that playing by the book was too rigid and boring. Eventually, things reached a breaking point when my friend accused their partner of ruining the fun by always trying to change the game. Their partner, in response, said they couldn't be with someone so inflexible and predictable. It was shocking because it was a board game, something that was supposed to be fun. But for them, it symbolized a fundamental incompatibility in how they approached life. They broke up that evening, each feeling that the other couldn't respect their approach to both the game and their relationship. It sounds ridiculous, but the game night fight ended up being the catalyst for an entire relationship's collapse. It was one of those moments where you look back and wonder how something so trivial could cause such a dramatic end. Story 26. A friend of mine once went through a breakup over a very strange disagreement involving the use of social media. They had been together for about a year, and everything seemed fine until one night. The conversation turned to Instagram. My friend's partner was very into social media, posting daily stories, photos of their food, and frequent updates about what they were doing. My friend, however, wasn't really into sharing their life online. They kept their profile private and didn't feel the need to post much about their day-to-day activities. One day, the partner asked why my friend never posted pictures of the two of them together. My friend explained that they preferred to keep their personal life private, and they didn't want to make everything public for the sake of followers. The partner, who was deeply invested in the idea of presenting their life as an open book, couldn't understand why someone would be so secretive. They pressed further, saying that it made them feel like they weren't important enough to be shared on social media. They felt like their relationship was being downplayed, and it started to feel like a direct insult to their partner. The tension mounted as my friend kept refusing to post anything public about their relationship, and the partner accused them of hiding the relationship. Eventually, they sat down for a serious conversation. The partner said, "If you can't even share us online, then maybe you're not as committed as I thought." My friend, frustrated and feeling like this was blown way out of proportion, tried to explain that it wasn't about commitment, but about privacy. But the partner just couldn't let it go, and the breakup followed shortly after. To them, social media presence wasn't just about exposure. It was about validation and feeling appreciated, and without that recognition, they felt like the relationship wasn't real enough. It was a hard breakup for my friend, as they never imagined that something as superficial as Instagram could cause such a rift. Story 27. There was another relationship I saw end over a disagreement about travel etiquette. My friends had been dating for a while and planned an overseas trip together. What seemed like a fun adventure turned into a nightmare because of the differences in how they approached travel. One person, let's call them Jordan, was very spontaneous. They loved to wake up and see where the day would take them, making impromptu decisions on which attractions to visit and which restaurants to try. On the other hand, their partner, Alex, was meticulous when it came to planning. Alex would research every destination before the trip, make detailed itineraries, and map out routes, not leaving anything to chance. At first, the differences were minor, but the real tension started to surface during the trip. One day, Jordan suggested they skip a museum and just explore the local markets, while Alex had planned an entire day around visiting that museum and had even pre-purchased tickets. The tension was palpable when Jordan suggested changing plans, but Alex insisted they stick to the itinerary. This led to a series of arguments throughout the trip, with Jordan accusing Alex of being too rigid and ruining the spontaneity of the trip, while Alex felt disrespected and unappreciated for all the effort they had put into planning. The final straw came when they arrived in a new city, and Jordan once again wanted to veer off the schedule. Alex snapped and said that the trip had become more about Jordan's whims than a shared experience. They argued about how the lack of planning was ruining the experience for both of them, and Jordan's idea of adventure was starting to feel like chaos to Alex. When the dust settled, they broke up, each blaming the other for the failure of the trip. It was ironic because they had planned the vacation to strengthen their relationship, but instead, their completely opposite travel styles had created irreconcilable differences. It was a sad and anticlimactic ending to what was supposed to be a dream vacation, all because of how they approached the concept of travel. Story 28. I once saw a breakup over an argument about the correct way to use a shower. Yes, you read that right. This was an issue that divided a couple so much that it caused them to part ways. The problem started when my friend moved in with their partner. They had been dating long distance for a while and were excited to finally share a space. Everything seemed fine until they shared a bathroom for the first time. The partner had a very specific way they liked to shower. They would leave the shower running hot the whole time, let the steam fill the bathroom, and take a long, leisurely shower, enjoying the heat and steam. My friend, however, preferred a quick shower with the water temperature adjusted to their liking. They found the excessive steam uncomfortable and disliked the idea of wasting water for such long showers. At first, my friend tried to adjust, thinking it wasn't a big deal. But after several weeks of sharing a bathroom, the tension built up. My friend would get irritated by the steam fogging up the bathroom mirrors and the water running unnecessarily. The partner, on the other hand, couldn't understand why my friend was so upset over something as small as water temperature. Eventually, they started arguing more about who had the right to use the shower, however they pleased. My friend argued that excessive hot water was wasteful and that the bathroom should be a place of efficiency, while their partner felt that taking time to relax and enjoy the shower was an important self-care ritual. One evening, after a particularly heated discussion about shower habits, my friend sat down with their partner and calmly explained how the situation had started to affect their comfort in the relationship. They expressed frustration over feeling like their needs were constantly being disregarded for the sake of their partner's long shower routine. The partner, who couldn't understand the issue, said, "If you can't accept how I enjoy my shower, then maybe we're not as compatible as I thought." That was the moment it all came crashing down. It was one of those breakups where it seemed like something so trivial, like how you take a shower, could create such irreparable damage. Story 29. One of the most confusing breakups I've seen happened when a couple split up because they couldn't agree on their furniture arrangement. They had been living together for a while, and everything was going smoothly until they decided to rearrange their living room. My friend suggested a new layout for the couch and TV, thinking it would create a more open space. But their partner, who was very particular about the way the furniture should be placed, insisted that their way was perfect. They believed that if the couch wasn't in a specific position relative to the window and the walls, it would disrupt the room's energy flow. The disagreement seemed trivial at first, but it grew into a bigger issue. My friend wanted to experiment with some new arrangements, but the partner became fixated on keeping things as they were. They argued about how the furniture placement reflected their personalities. One person wanted freedom and openness, while the other preferred stability and symmetry. The situation escalated into passive-aggressive comments about each other's decorating style and lack of understanding of design principles. After several back and forths about how to arrange the couch, the partner declared, "If we can't agree on the most basic things like how our living room should look, then how can we move forward?" The breakup came shortly after, with my friend shocked by how something so small had completely derailed their relationship. They realized that the furniture argument wasn't about the furniture at all. It was about control, compromises, and a lack of understanding of each other's needs. The whole thing ended up being a metaphor for deeper incompatibilities, and it left everyone around them stunned at how a couch could bring down a relationship. Story 30. I once saw a breakup happen because of an argument about how to eat ice cream. It sounds funny, but it was a serious issue for this couple. My friend had been dating their partner for a year when they went on a weekend trip to a small town known for its artisanal ice cream. They went to a local shop excited to try new flavors together. However, when they ordered, a minor issue arose. My friend liked to eat their ice cream slowly, savoring each bite, while their partner preferred to eat it quickly, as if to finish it as fast as possible. At first, it seemed like no big deal. But after a while, the partner began to criticize how slowly my friend was eating their ice cream. They called it disappointing and wasting time, and even started joking that it made them look like a child. My friend tried to explain that they just wanted to enjoy the experience and didn't see the point in rushing. However, their partner kept pushing the issue, insisting that it was just ice cream and they should hurry up so they could leave. The tension built over the next few days, with my friend feeling increasingly uncomfortable about how controlling the partner had become over something so trivial. Eventually, the partner said, "If you can't even eat your ice cream like a normal person, then how can we have a future together?" It was the most bizarre and petty reason for a breakup, but it ended their relationship. My friend was left completely stunned by how a simple act of eating ice cream could symbolize everything wrong with the relationship, from impatience to disrespect for personal preferences.